you for joining us this evening. Regular scheduled council meeting of the Park City City Council on March 26, 2019 at 7 p.m. Dee, would you call the roll?
John Lunhair. Here. George Glover. Here. Ben Salcetta. Melvin Kerr. Tom Jones.
Here.
George Capps.
Here.
Brandy Bailey. Here. Jim Schrader.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Tonight, Pastor Kit Berry is going to lead in the invocation, and Councilmember Lunhair is going to lead in the pledge. If everybody please stand.
Please bow your heads, please. Father God in heaven, thank you so much for the ability to come here tonight to see our council members in action. Thank you for the ability to come here and be able to see our community grow and see the excitement that's going on in this community. Lord, we ask for blessings for tonight. Help our council members and staff and the police department guide them and help them make our community even better than what it is. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion? Jim?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Okay. And John?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 6-0. We don't have anything for awards or presentations tonight, and nobody signed up to speak at public forum, so we'll move on to our staff reports, and we'll start with our Assistant City Administrator, Dana.
Thank you, Mayor, Mann, and Council. Very brief report this evening. I would just like to thank our Sedgwick County Commissioner, Lacey Cruz. She was here on the 21st, and she spent 3 hours in Park City. We did a thorough drive through Park City. She was here at our city administration building, the senior center, the library, looked at residential, industrial, commercial, and she just wants to be able to represent the people in this district, and so we thank her for that. The cards are available if people want to call in or step in to City Hall to get a card that they will be able to take to the transfer station for cleanup. So we would recommend that people do that. Once again, first come, first serve. And I was going to give an update on where we're at on the maintenance building, and I will move that to our added agenda item.
All right.
Questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Dana? George?
I just have one, Dana. I know we used to have a city historian, and you know, we were having a conversation the other night on the phone, and we was talking about the history and how stuff slips by. Do we currently have a historian?
We do not, and you are correct. We're going to roll up to our 40th year here in Park City, and we want to have a big celebration for that. We have a lot of history, a lot of richness that we do need to capture, and the historian position would be a council decision.
Well, and you know, because of the unfortunate situation, I was able to look at some pictures from way back right at the beginning, and I'd like to somehow see some of that stuff captured in time so it doesn't get lost, and I'd hope that we could look towards appointing a good historian.
And we do have a lot of information that is currently in the basement, and we have been maintaining that information. Some of it, when we had a historian, is fairly well organized. Digital would be nice to be able to get some of those documents, and also it would be very nice to capture some of our citizens who were here at the start, and we need to do that before we're not able to do so.
Thanks, George. Thanks, Dana. Next, our Director of Public Works, Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Tonight I'd like to give you Park City Lift Station Condition Report. We'll start off with the, actually let me back up. I'm going to talk about two different styles of lift stations. The submersible style, which is basically a pump and a motor, and that's all one unit. And vacuum prime. which is basically same type, but the motor and the pump are separate units with an air compressor vacuum pump that keeps the pump primed. And we'll get into that more later. We'll start off at the 85th Street lift station. This is a submersible style. It's got 2 pumps in good working order. Currently, we have no way of pulling pumps for inspection on site. We have to bring in a backhoe with a winch on it. I'd like to change that. Currently, we have no backup pumps in stock for this lift station, but we do have electrical fuses and relays as well as floats. Next slide. This is a view inside 85th Street lift station. If you can see there, there's the wires that are going down into the lift station. Those are the floats. We have those on hand. And we have a slight build-up ring of grease, but what we do is we use biodegradable degreaser to control that. Next slide. This is Grove. This is a vacuum prime style lift station with 2 pumps. They're in good working condition right now. We have no backup motors in stock for these, but we do have electrical fuses and relays. This is Primrose. This is a submersible style. 2 pumps, good working order. Again, just like the 85th, there's no way to pull the pumps. We use the backhoe and a winch. This lift station in particular is affected by high rains. We have an infiltration issue in that area that we're currently under investigation. And this is 53rd. If you notice right off the bat, there is no fence around this one. I'd like to have a fence around all the lift stations. Currently, this is a vacuum prime, 2 pumps in good working order. Currently, no backup motors in stock, but we do have electrical relays and some vacuum prime components on hand. We have a problem with grease buildup with this one. It's worse in the city. Again, we use biodegradable degreaser to control the buildup. And just to give you a little background on this lift station in particular, this was a reused lift station that was moved to 53rd Street in 1985. So, next slide. Well, due to its condition, we do have a lot of rust and corrosion issues with that lift station as well. Next one. That's the rust and corrosion issue. I'm just going to stand by right there. This is the example of a vacuum prime. You can see the green and red hoses there. With vacuum prime, we have a lot more moving parts. We've got a lot more places for it to fail. I would like to see this lift station be a submersible style, less maintenance, and more reliable. Next slide. There we go. Next one. This is Broadway lift station. This is the oldest lift station in the city, and we're having trouble locating replacement parts for this lift station. Now, at the beginning, I talked about submersible and vacuum prime. This one is kind of a combination of both. It's got a wet well and a dry well, but it's not vacuum primed. Next slide. This is our main issue with it. It's a confined space issue. Down inside this hole, this is a 20-foot hole. I tried to get a good picture of it, but it just wouldn't take. Down inside this hole, there's two pumps and 2 motors that do need to be pulled up through this hole. So that's the issue we're having with there. Not to mention it's just aging. And there's also no fence around that one as well. Now this is our main lift station. We do have a backup pump on hand. As you can see, it's right there, right next to the yellow crane. We do have a way of, well, we did have a way of lifting the pumps. There's a 3,000-pound hoist up there. It's ready for 3,000 pounds. These pumps are approximately 6 feet tall and weigh 4,000 pounds. Also, that hoist has an indoor rating. To the left of the pump, you see a blue motor and a silver trough looking thing right there. That is an auger and a macerator. What that does is it collects all the solids, the rags, the plastics, everything that everybody flushes, and it screws it up through the auger into that trash can right there, trying to keep it from out of the pumps. That's the problems we had before with one of our pumps. It just got totally impacted with rags. This lift station is designed for expansion. We could add a 3rd pump in there if need be. Right now, we're totally fine by getting off on 3. Next slide. And if all else fails, and both of the pumps that we have in that lift station were to have issues, we have a backup holding basin that will hold approximately 5 to 7 days worth of sewage until we can get that fixed. And that's all I have.
Eric, thank you. This was very valuable information, and look forward to kind of the game plan for the next,
Correct.
3 to 4 years, what it looks like on how we need to start upgrading some of these areas.
Thank you.
So, does anybody have any questions for Eric? Not seeing any. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to the consent agenda. Is there a motion? George?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
And Jim?
I'd second that.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 6-0. That brings us to item A under new business, which is considered the agreement for the operation of an RC track at McLean Park. Doug?
Mayor and Council, you have in your packet, at least in my packet, you might have been missing the last page or so, but those are pretty much boilerplate things. You have the substance of an agreement that I've prepared along the lines of the proposal that was made by Mr. Williamson and a discussion that he and I had about his plans for developing the radio-controlled racetrack at McLean Park. The agreement is patterned after some of the elements of the BMX operating agreement, and also took elements from the agreement that Mr. Williamson had with the city of Wichita when he had his radio-controlled racetrack down at Emery Park in Wichita. It's pretty comprehensive. I think self-explanatory. I'd be glad to entertain any questions about the substance of the agreement.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Doug? Not seeing any. I do have several people signed up to speak on this, so let's start with Jared Bruner.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing myself and other members of the hockey community to speak tonight. My name is Jared Bruner. I am head coach of the Wichita Junior Thunder Under-8 program. The skating rink at Hap McLean Park, also known as the concrete pond to the hockey community, is an integral part of youth and adult hockey in our area. Not only does it serve as a practice facility to the Wichita Youth Hockey Association, but it also is used to introduce new youth and adult players. It is also a social hub that is used for the hockey community, cookouts in the summer months when drop-in hockey is offered at nights. Tonight, I ask that the council delay, not cancel, the proposed RC track so that hockey, RC, and skateboard communities can work out a solution that is best for all parties involved and for the city of Park City. My wish is that all parties involved remain at Hap McLean. In the last city council meeting, the council asked the park board to move the rink to another park. In the event that all parties involved cannot come to an agreement, I ask that the city council delay the building of the RC track until plans to build a new rink can be finalized as a gesture of goodwill and a show of good faith. I believe that all parties can work on an agreement that can benefit everyone, but to accomplish this, the agreement for operation needs to be delayed. Mr. Williamson, I ask, can we please delay this to work together? That way we can find a solution that benefits both us, the skateboarders, and the RC community.
I don't think, it wouldn't be appropriate to ask him a question.
I apologize, Mr. Mayor.
That's all right. Just go ahead and address the council. And I think what you're really saying here is that you use the concrete pond.
Correct.
And that you would like to see that remain within the city, or try to come up with other solutions on how that can be kept.
That would be correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Jared? Not seeing any.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Next, Sabrina, I'll let you come up and introduce yourself. Okay, we'll move on to Kathy.
Thank you, Park City and council members, for the opportunity to be here, and thank you for your service. My name is Kathy Guyer. I'm from Newton, Kansas. I am the mother of Charlie, my 7-year-old aspiring hockey player. Yeah, you don't hear that much in Kansas, do you? But we are very thankful to the Wichita Junior Thunder hockey team that makes it possible so that he can maybe get a little bit step closer to reaching that big wishful aspiration of his. He just started this year, and we've had a great time getting to know the team and enjoying all that junior hockey has to offer. He was sad when the season was over because that meant no more seeing his friends. But then Coach Bruner said, well, there's the concrete pond. So he was very excited when he learned that we could go to the concrete pond and meet all of his buddies. And he even asked to have his July birthday at the concrete pond. I'm not sure how I'm going to make that one happen. It may be a little hot, but we'll make it work. So anyway, when I found out that this was up for discussion with the RC Park, I thought, I'd like to come because he is only 7, and I need to be speaking not just for the adults that use it or the 14-year-olds that use it, but also future generations that may use it as well. I'm just asking that you please reconsider your plans to tear up the pond for an RC park. If it does help, Harvey County East Lake has a full RC hobbies area. We have 2 landing strips, one that runs east and west, and the north and south for planes. We also have a digging area. We have the track. I know that there's more specific ways to say these, but anyway, it's a full park. So the Newtonians would be happy to share that with anyone who wants to come up. So anyway, thank you for your time. Any questions for me?
Do you have any questions? Not seeing any.
Thank you. Thanks for your service.
Sabrina?
My name is Sabrina Pfeiffer. I'm a resident of Park City. I've been a hockey program coordinator and I'm a hockey coach at the Wichita Ice Center. I've been for about a decade, and I'm also a board member on the Wichita Youth Hockey Association. I play hockey. My 2-year-old, that's sorry for the chatter, she is probably going to play hockey, and we very much enjoy going to the concrete pond and getting to use that. Some of the ideas that I have where I think we could involve more of the Park City youth is Jared and I would like to put on some floor hockey clinics, which is just, we provide sticks and just ball, and just teach some of the kids some of the basic of how to play hockey. I don't know if you know this, but you also have a Park City police officer, Jordan Whitfield. He's a hockey player. So we could definitely do some things where we're doing some community outreach, getting the police involved, and kind of going out there and playing with the kids. Hockey's a great sport to be a part of. I see people from all backgrounds, all walks of life, and it teaches so many great things. You have friendships that last forever, and I just think it's a great thing, and it'd be very sad to lose something that I see as being utilized in our park. So,
all right. Does anybody have any? George?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Now, are there, at the concrete pond, are there tournament games going on there as far as hockey? Is there a league that's been
I know that,
set up?
Not anything that's formal. I know Jared has had some just the get-togethers, and with some of the adult players. I know that that Darren Hopkirk, one of our youth hockey coaches, along with Jared, he's also one of the youth hockey coaches. He brings the kids out there and they do some off-ice conditioning.
So it's kind of used sparingly as when you guys need to go out there? And
yeah, here and there, and it depends on the weather. You know, Kansas, so could be, it's good today, maybe not so much tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
I just have one thing I want to add about it, and I had asked for another place if we decided we were going to use this for RC to locate this a couple meetings ago. And I got to thinking back, both of my sons played on that. They both played indoor hockey on the west side and down south at a roller rink, and they all practiced there when they were playing, and I'm sure that's what's going on now. And there may not be a schedule when they show up, but the kids are up there playing, and if we do something with this track, we need to put it somewhere else, or with this facility. That or leave it here and go back like we talked about at the first meeting and find somewhere else for it, the RC track. So it's...
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Yep.
Anybody else? Jim?
Yeah, I wish I would have had the information a couple of meetings ago. You know, this was talked about, and then it hit the paper, and then was talked about some more. And I wish we would have had this information before we'd already voted, but we've already made a decision on this, and we're kind of down the road. So I'm very supportive of both of this. I really appreciate everybody came in and told us, because that was information I didn't have before. And
Jim, just real quick.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we don't get anything wrong. We haven't made a decision, because if you remember that last meeting, I had them amend the motion that nothing could happen until we had an agreement, an operation agreement.
Okay, that's good.
So if the agreement fails, nothing happens. We made a decision to move forward on the basis that we had an agreement worked out. We have an agreement. The agreement's up for you to either approve or disapprove. If you disprove that, nothing happens. So we don't have any type of agreement to move forward with the RC track.
Okay.
So, and that was really one of the things I threw out there, and I've talked about it before, is that's an asset. And why we would cover that up, I have no clue. So that's one of the things I put in place, was that we needed to have an operation agreement with them like we do with the BMX track before we move forward with any part of this. So if this dies, the RC track doesn't go in there.
Well, what's on my mind is that we have two very qualified uses for the same location. Both that I like, so some deep thinking, I guess, going on what's the right way to proceed. But that's all I had. I just wanted to thank you and say I really appreciated that both sides are telling us, and it's both very good uses of this area. So that's all I have for now.
Okay. John?
Well, I think I made it pretty clear in the last meetings, the last discussions about this, that I'm opposed to basically repurposing a perfectly good asset that we have now that does get used, that can actually be used for other things. As I mentioned, pickleball, and I mean, kickball. There's so many things that slab can be used for. I mean, for us to just cover it up, to me, is just a complete waste of money, a waste of taxpayers' resources. And like we've said, I mean, our kids have played there for years and years. It's not like, you know, it's in disrepair and it can't be used, like the tennis court, for instance. This thing is something that it works perfect for what it was built for. We're taking an asset that requires very little maintenance, understandably, every 5, 6, whatever it is, years. The board's got to be replaced and painted. But for the most part, it doesn't require, every time it rains, someone's got to go out and rake it or push the dirt or get it back into usable, the usable purpose that it is. I just think that we're just really wasting that resource. I'm opposed to this location. I'm not opposed to the RC track. I think it'd be great if we could find it somewhere else, but I just think it's, I mean, a complete travesty for us to cover up a perfectly used asset. And we hear tonight, there is folks here just because they haven't been here the last few meetings, as they didn't know about it. I think that we need to table this, find another location so he can put the RC park there. I mean, I can go back a long ways, and we talk about the BMX track. We can talk about the different things of how these things work, where I understand when you get money donated, we build it, and they will come, is how it works. But the problem is it takes daily or weekly, monthly maintenance and upkeep to get people to come. And when we're running it by volunteers or someone that has an interest in it today, they may not tomorrow. The hockey rink is not that way. It does not take any maintenance or upkeep. I think it is in our best interest to take no action on this and allow the park board and maybe these folks to work with them, work with the gentleman that has submitted the proposal to find another location if they can, and then maybe move forward.
Okay. Tom?
I'll go back to where we started in my comments in the first meeting. I would like to find another source. We were told that the cost of the lighting and other things would be significant to put it in some other area in that general vicinity where it's at now. And there was some probably low spots, held water down in there and stuff that we might have to move some dirt into. But if you move the slab, it could be offset. I mean, we could build a new facility there for the RC and put the lights there and probably bring the dirt up to whatever we need to do and keep both of them. I'd like to see us pursue that. I don't want the RC thing to go away. I'd just like for us to put it somewhere else. So, and it might be in the same area.
Well, if I could answer, because he's kind of related to what I'm saying, but my point is this. There's money donated to build an RC track. Why would we build the RC track off of a donation and then we have to use our money to go build another roller rink? It doesn't make sense.
I agree. So,
yeah. George?
I have to agree with him. I simply can't see tearing up a perfectly good facility. I'm not even sure we use it as much as we could. I could see a lot of uses for it, and I know it's used quite a bit now. Like the Salute to Freedom people, some of them are here tonight. Maybe they ought to think about scattering some sawdust on it and have a good square dance. That'd make an excellent place. But I could see a lot of room for it. But I'd hate to see us tear that up.
Okay, Brandy.
So I missed the last meeting where the vote happened, and I went back and I've watched the discussions that have happened, and then we've received several emails from people around the area talking about the use of the skating rink. I do like the RC track idea, but knowing that these kids are out there using this rink to practice and they don't have another location that they really use so much for it, I would like to see us look at another area for the RC track, and I like John's idea of let's table this and see if everybody can work together to find a better solution.
Jim?
Follow-up question. At our previous discussion, there was talk of the condition and possible updating of the park, or of this location, of the cement slab, that it was getting kind of rough and needed sealed, and there was the border around it was bad. Is there, and I don't know if there's anybody here from the park board or if any of the users, what's your opinion of the condition of it? Does it need maintenance now? So, because if we're talking about cost, we need to understand that.
So there was an email that went out that explained that was the meeting that was, or the information that was given to us was not accurate, that the slab is not that bad of a shape. Jared, I'll allow you to come up and address that real quick.
Yeah, I'd like to know.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, there was some misinformation. That was actually the information I gave Neil, what would be 3 weeks ago. That was 2 quotes. I gave it a high and a low. One, and I've done various testing over the past 6 months. One idea I had, and it would keep it very, 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 very low cost, and I was going to try to do it through private donations instead of having park board pay for it. One would be either to use a acrylic epoxy paint or to polish the concrete, which actually would be even the cheapest idea, just to smooth it out. I mean, just take that little edge off of her. The other item was in terms of the boards, switching to what we use on ice rinks to what's called an HPD board. It's a plastic. It does not deteriorate in weather, which would take away having to replace it every 5-6 years. It would stay there, wouldn't rot on us. Save money down the line. The high bid, after some looking at it, and there was an instance where an outdoor rink in Hendersonville, Tennessee had flood damage. It ruined what they had used on that high bid. I don't even want to see that product even on that rink.
So just real quick on just kind of smoothing it out, what was the rough cost on that?
The rough cost for a weekly rental for a concrete grinder / polisher, just for the machine, is roughly about $415. And then you could use a densifier to help harden that top layer, help seal it as well, keep it smooth for generations. I mean, what I'm proposing on that is we could make small maintenance items to it that will increase its longevity for years to come. But I'd say probably if my group was to polish that concrete, make it smooth and seal it, we're talking $1,000 or less.
Okay. Jim, does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Thanks,
it does.
Thank you.
Thanks.
George?
Yeah, I've received a couple emails from the hockey community, and I appreciate that. I didn't know that we'd get that kind of response, because every time I've gone up there, I've never seen anybody use it. So for me, it's seeing it actually being used. And I know that's why I brought up the question about the leagues, or having some kind of league set up where people actually use it in a general sense, as opposed to every once in a while. I do think that we do have an asset there. I do think that something that because of where it's at, we're going to have many other activities combined in a small area. And I think with what John was saying, we need to table it and possibly look at another area. For me, it's about confinement in that area and how we have all these other activities going on at different times of the year in that location. So I'd like to see us maybe table it, maybe work out an agreement with you folks and find out how can we come to some kind of agreement. How can we look maybe some other area in the city? I don't know, but it's something that you guys can come and get together with and just discuss it and maybe come back to the council and say this is what we decided, but I'm going to have to vote against it tonight.
John?
I'll make a motion that we table item A and allow this group and maybe the park board as well to collaborate and attempt to identify a more suitable location that doesn't crowd out something we already have.
Okay. Tom?
I'd like to say, I'm going to second it, but I'd like to see both groups be successful. If the issue south of where the skateboard park is now is available and it may just need some dirt work and power taken over to it or something like that, it's got to be cheaper than pouring a new slab. So I think we need to look at that. I know there's already land there. It wasn't preferred because of elevations and some other stuff, but they could be fixed. So I'm agreeing with John. We need to look at this and try to get something moving.
John?
The other thing I was wondering is, I remember it's been a few years back, but up near the Coliseum, probably in between Coliseum and the Greyhound Park, there used to be some sort of a dirt track, race track, go-karts or something like that. I'm just wondering if there's somehow we could, tap that resource. They had bleachers, they had lights maybe even, that was maybe something that we could possibly take a look at. So.
Okay. So, John, would you amend your agenda or your motion basically just to table the contract and send this back to the park board with a new location for the RC track?
Yeah.
Tom?
I would second that.
Yep. Okay. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes 6-0. Thank you for everybody that came and spoke. That brings us to item B, which is considered the property and casualty and workers' compensation insurance renewal. Dana or Dee?
Our policies for the property casualty and work comp insurance are due to renew on April 1st. We've received a quote from ICI, our broker for EMC insurance, of $173,326. EMC is who we've been with last year as well. The quote is a reduction of $2,350 from our April 1 quote last year and about $4,600 from what we actually ended up paying through the year when you consider items that got added and deleted throughout the year. Additionally, the city received a $30,000 dividend back in May from EMC, which is a very nice benefit of EMC. They offer dividends where it's my understanding other companies do not. They are never guaranteed, but we've been receiving them for a number of years. We do not yet know, of course, whether or not they will declare a dividend this year because the policy year isn't over, but if they do so, it's anticipated we'd probably receive that around the May or June timeframe again. Staff does recommend approval of this. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to address them. Our broker, Curtis Sir, is in the audience if there's anything that I can't answer.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Dee? Is there any recommendation from the council? Jim?
I don't have any questions, so I'd move that we approve the renewal of the property casualty and workers' compensation insurance policies in the amount of $173,326 with Employers Mutual Casualty Company effective April 1, 2019.
Okay. Is there a second? Tom?
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 6-0. That brings us to item C, which is considered approval of the Park City Connectivity Plan. Dana.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. In your packet, well, actually not in your packet, digitally, you received the connectivity plan that was approved by the Planning Commission. As you're aware, this has been an ongoing issue, and we would like to thank WAMPO for the funding that we received in order to conduct this survey, but more importantly, would like to thank the community at large. The kickoff was in June, and it was this comes to us at the end of a long public engagement period where we had public meetings and we also had a survey. So we would like to thank the public for participating in this. What you have to consider this evening is a document that can be used as a planning document for the council to pick and choose different projects. The entirety is for a long period of time. There are short-term goals and there are long-term goals. And you have in the document basically 5 chapters which begin in outlining what we received from the public as far as where do they want to go to, and then there are plans in here of how to realistically retrofit existing streets and places that are already some safe and some not as safe in the city, where people are using for biking and for walking. And as we continue to move forward in the future, you know, we're looking at trying to have a more active system, and that's because that's what the trend is, to keep people out and about, build community, have people have more healthy options. But we're also in a very aging community as well, and we're needing to have more ability to have mobility scooters and things of that nature. So the plan is in front of you, and I can answer any other questions if you have those.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on it? I know we went through several workshops on it and did a special meeting kind of with a presentation between us and Planning Commission before this went back to them. So does anybody have any questions, or is there a recommendation from the council? Brandy?
So if we approve this, what's the next steps?
Basically, it's just approving the plan, and then the next steps are when we decide to take action on what we want to do. So we're basically approving like a comprehensive plan on this is kind of what we see our future going to and how we do it. Then if we want to actually do something, we pick things hopefully within the plan that we've approved and try to, you know, look for options on how we now build this network.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of understand where we go from here once how do we get going and started? So, okay. With that, I'll make a motion that we approve the Park City Connectivity Plan as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Okay, Tom?
I'll second that, and I have a comment to add to Brandy's question. Approving this plan and having a sidewalk bike path plan allows you to ask for an 80-20 match and maybe get some federal funding to help you with that. So,
okay, got a motion and a second. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 6-0. We'll move on to item D, which is considered a change order to the construction contract on the new maintenance building located at 2227 West 61st Street North. Anna?
Yes, in your package you have a change order. If you look at this, it is a net cost credit of $18,065, which is a very nice change order to have. Just some information as to how this came about. Once the fire department looked at the plans and reviewed them for the building, there was they were requiring that there be sprinkling in the building. The mayor asked if we could look at a different option, which we did, and so we're going to wanting to proceed with the firewall. And we got together, and Bob is here this evening. He's our expert in this area, but we have had several meetings that have included our staff that will be working in the building, and we've been looking at the building to see what kind of changes need to be in place and if we're ready to move forward. So if you look at the description on here, you're going to have some things that we're adding, which is our firewall, and some things that we're deducting, because we're taking some walls out, but we're putting that firewall in. In addition to that, when we looked at this, we decided that we did not need a jib crane, and so there was a large credit for that piece of equipment. So that's why you have in front of you this change order this evening. I want to make sure that you understand that there are some additional change orders that will be coming forward. One in particular will be on paving. or the surfacing of the outside area, which is the area that we're going to need to look at where people will be driving. And we have some options that we're going to look at and bring back. Also, in addition to that, the area needs to be surveyed. So that's a cost that will be coming. A fence, our IT is looking at what lines need to come into the building for phone and for internet and so forth. We're going to need lifts. So what I'm trying to express to you this evening is this is exciting to see this deduct, but we're going to be needing to have some additional costs incurred in this building. So that will come forward. I just want to also let you be aware kind of where we're at as far as the building and our time frame for completion. They're telling us as of last week they would be putting the roof on this week, which they are, and thank goodness the weather is very nice. And of course we know that all of this is weather dependent. They have a solid 4 weeks to get this completed, so a conservative estimate is we're looking at 8 weeks potentially to get into the building. So I would ask for you, if you have any questions, that Bob is here this evening. He would more adequately be able to address specifics, and we would address any questions and then would ask that you approve this so that we can move forward with the firewall.
Does anybody have any questions? I'll just throw in here, I mean, once this went to the fire department, when you're in excess of 5,000 square feet, it requires you to have a sprinkler system within your facility. That traditionally will cost up to $30,000 or more to get that done. And then you also have the annual inspections and maintenance that you have to stay on top of that. And that's where I came back and asked, hey, we can build a firewall, we can do that a lot cheaper, and that should get us around the sprinkler system. And that's what we were able to do and get approved. So going this route keeps us from having to put that irrigation system or that sprinkler system in there, which could cost us between another $30,000, $40,000 plus ongoing maintenance and inspections that would have to be completed on that.
And I would say that is accurate because we did get an estimate and it was $21,000 plus all of the annuals, which would add up to that.
Tom?
I've got so the motion here would be for the 18,000?
Yes, it would be to approve this change order, which is in front of you, for a net cost credit of $18,065.
Okay. I would make a motion move to approve the change order to be construction contract with Air Capital Construction on the new maintenance building located at 227 West 61st Street North for an $18,065 reduction.
Okay. Is there a second? George?
I'll second that.
Can't believe we weren't faster on saving $18,000. This is like the best change order ever. We got a motion and a second. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 6-0. That brings us to item E, which is consider the appointment of council liaison and an alternate to the Stormwater Management Advisory Board. So as you all remember, we put the Stormwater Advisory Board back into place, and you all have graciously recruited folks, and a couple of those folks are here with us this evening. They're going to be on that board. And we also put in a stormwater utility fee that we've added to our bills, which I think we've collected a little over $18,000 at this point. So while that's not a lot of money to go in and really do work within the ditches and make some of the, really get some stuff going that's been neglected, it is starting to build, and we want to make sure that the Stormwater Board can get together and start meeting and kind of start putting a game plan together on when some funds come in place, what might be some of the first projects we tackle. So like every board that we have, we usually ask that we have a council liaison that is a part of that, along with an alternate. So just looking to see if anybody would like to serve on that in those two capacities. And what did we say the meeting date was going to, or days? Thursday?
Thursday.
Yeah, so that was going to be a Thursday night. Anybody wants to jump on that?
What is Ward I mean, I guess I won't say the biggest need because it's everywhere, but I guess I was just trying to identify the core areas that have, council members in the ward where we have a lot of drainage. It seems like Ward 2 has it's kind of the core area of town.
Okay.
I mean, I can do the alternate, but I can't do the liaison at this point, not on Thursdays.
Okay. So Councilmember Glover said he could be the alternate. Does anybody want to be the liaison?
I mean, I wonder, since Ben and Melvin aren't really here, I mean, if one of them maybe wanted to do it. I guess we could just, they're not here, we can vote them in. They won't vote away. They won't be against it, right? If you're not here.
That's sometimes how that works, isn't it? Brandy?
I would like to nominate Ben to serve as the liaison to the Stormwater Board.
So you want to nominate Ben and George?
George as the alternate. Yes.
Okay. Tom?
I'm going to second it.
Okay.
I'm staying out of this one.
Well, we'll see how this works out.
I could vote against it and be the good guy when he's here.
All right, got a motion and a second. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 6-0.
Dangerous to this meeting.
Tom, go ahead.
I would like to say that even though I'm not part of that board, I would be more than happy to help them down in Ward 4 any way I can. So, in the future.
So you mean you wanted to be the?
I was it once, so.
Oh, so you had experience.
Yeah,
We may have just made a mistake.
I was the first one. So, and we walked every ditch here in the city and wrote it up and did nothing.
That sounds like a resume.
We didn't have any money, so.
We got money now. Do you want this since you're here?
No. Ben's got it.
All right. We got a motion and a second on that one, so we'll move on to the governing body reports, and we'll start with Jim.
They've left, but I appreciate everybody giving some feedback tonight on the park issues. So that's all I have tonight.
Randy?
The only thing I have is next week our new city administrator starts, so that's an exciting time for us, and looking forward to see where we go.
George?
Well, last week we lost Bernice Core. She was one of the early pioneers of our city. She was part of the self-help group, which was, at that time, it was civil defense. It was founded with the great assistance of Gene Beaver, who was the head of civil defense then. And later she was a reserve officer with this police department and went on and served on the city council. She was a great asset to the city, and we'll miss her.
Thank you. Tom?
I don't have anything tonight.
George?
Yeah, also looking forward to the start of our new city administrator next week. So Park City's looking bright. The future's looking bright. Thank you.
John?
I have nothing tonight, so good meeting, and I would make a motion we adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
George?
I'll second that.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 6-0.